Hail and greetings all, it's Ragnarok Prepper here, and today we're going to start the process of making filet. Now if you're not familiar with what filet is, it's a thickening spice added to gumbo, and it's made from sassafras leaves. So what we're going to do is collect up some sassafras leaves, we're going to let it dry for a week, and then we're going to make some filet. Now when selecting your leaves, you want to be sure to find unblemished leaves if possible. And it doesn't matter which shape the leaf is, as you know from the previous video, sassafras has numerous different shaped leaves. And I'm just snipping off a leaf at a time. And we'll make little bundles of leaves so we can hang them in our drying room. I think those are all the good leaves on this one. Also make sure when you're collecting your leaves, as with any wild foraging, that you are aware of what is growing with your selected harvest. As you can see, let me show you here. We have this friend here who's growing all around. Not to be confused with this friend who's growing up the tree. So let's go ahead and find some more. So here we have a nice one. These are some nice young leaves here. And we don't want to take all the leaves, obviously. We want to be responsible in our harvesting here. Now be sure when you're collecting your leaves that you're checking both sides of the leaf to make sure it's healthy, or that it doesn't have any bugs attached to it. Here's a nice little patch. I love here how it's coming up out of this dead stump here. Nature is always a miracle. Life returning from death. Things like this that make me pause and reflect. A bone here, jawbone. And this is a slow process. If you like filet, you could easily just collect a few leaves every day, get them all drying, and just have them ready when you need them. But I think we have a nice pile right here. So we're going to go ahead and take them back and get them ready to dry. So what I'm doing here, I'm just taking the leaves. And I always stack them like opposites here. Just a personal thing. And what I'll do is stack about 5 to 10 depending on the size of the leaf here. And then I'll just grab my trusty jute vine, pinch the end. And make sure it's nice and tight so you got all the leaves in it. I'll throw a couple knots on it. And when we're drying these, we're going to want to hang them out of the light. So if you don't have a drying room, you really want to try and leave or have an area where they're not going to be in the sunlight, because that's going to discolor them as they dry. And they should be dry within a week. It's not a long process, but you don't want to take a chance and let them get wet. So I'll show you where I hang mine. And there's this small bundle. There we go. We have 4 bigger bundles and 1 small bundle. So let's go to the drying room. Alright, so here we are in my drying rack. And yes, you guessed it, right up in the rafters. You can see we have some gorgeous mint that's been drying. It's got its beautiful green color. And all I'm going to do is take this loop and hang it right there. And we'll let our leaves dry, and then we'll come back. Now, as you can see, our leaves are nice and dry. So I'm going to go ahead, pull them down, take them inside, and we'll continue the process. Alright, so here we are with our dried leaves. And our next step is going to be to go ahead and take, whether it's a coffee grinder or a mortar and pestle, and we're going to go ahead and take the leaves and we're going to stick them inside. What we want to do is grind them into a fine powder. A fine powder meaning one that's going to dissolve in water when it's added to your gumbo or your stew or whatever you're thickening. And you can go ahead and pack this in here pretty good. I'm sure you're well aware. This is a coffee grinder, so it can handle those big beans. I'm pretty sure it's going to be able to handle our leaves. So we're just going to go ahead, put the first load in, and see what we can grind up. You might even have to pack it way tighter than that, because it's not really getting a grip. We might end up putting our whole load in. That's alright. It has a great scent. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them all in. We're going to put our lid back on. There we go. We're getting a nice fine powder in the bottom there. We're going to have to keep shaking it down, as I can tell this humidity is not helping me. I'm making a mess all over the place. Alright, and here's our jar. And as you can see now, you have a nice fine powder in there. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and tap it into the jar that I'm going to save it in. You want it to be in an airtight jar. You want it to be kept in a dark location. And so there we go with approximately, I'd say, 2 tablespoons of Filé powder. I can't wait to try this in the next gumbo I make. Until next we meet, be well.